Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Trading Hour. I'm Prashant Nair. With me is my colleague Surabhi Upadhyay. The market is roaring. Although, incrementally it's not roaring anymore. The tape was stuck at 99 points for a long time. And it's now 101 points, but it's not running away after that. So that big move that we saw, and it's holding essentially. No big news flow in terms of global or anything of that sort to report. I would reckon this is US markets posting another record high, 0.5%, 0.75% on the three big indices overnight on Friday, and that's showing up in a pretty decent way as far as Asia is concerned, and that rubbing off here in India. So I think that's what this is about. Otherwise, no fresh headlines or anything of that sort which should trigger a move of this sort. But it's pretty solid for now, and I think one should enjoy while it lasts. Market breadth, if we can quickly put that up, that's been a concern while markets were making newer highs the last couple of days. So yeah, it's good, but it could be better. For Nifty, which is up 100 points, it's less than 2:1 on advances to declines. But we'll see if it picks up along the day. Or as some have pointed out, for example, Ashwini, I heard him talk earlier. He said, well, if you were already in, you're making money, then he'd take off money. Maybe he's changed his mind. He comes on at 11:30. We also have Sudarshan, who will join us with his view in just a bit. Surabhi, morning.
Good morning, Prashant. You remind me of one of the classic lines of Hollywood filmmaking. Greed is good. There's so much happening. We're up 90 points. It's 11,600, and we're still talking about whether it's actually good enough or not. But absolutely, I take the point that you're making, that it's been a fantastic start to Monday, and it's absolutely global in nature. Pull up the Asian markets. The Hang Seng is up 550 points. The mainland Chinese markets are up 1.5%. So we're being lifted by this global tide. The other good news is, that's what I'm talking about. Look at the kind of neighborhood moves that we're getting. The other good news so far today is that the dollar rupee is very range-bound, flattish. Overall, the dollar on the back foot ever since we had the speech by the US chair, Jerome Powell, at Jackson Hole on Friday. So those comments have led the market to believe that maybe it'll be only gradual rate hikes, and that too not too many. So that's put the dollar on the back foot. All of this seems to be helping us, and right now it's absolutely bulls in control. So let's get cracking then. Let's look at a couple of strategies with our expert. Sudarshan Sukhani is joining in for a technical view on this market. Sudarshan, you've already got 100 points on top of all-time highs. That's how this Monday's played out so far. What should the next move be for the trader? What's your advice?
Well, the next move is to stay long. And if you're still not long, even after all of this, then even now you can buy as a positional trader, assuming that markets will be higher by the time we end this settlement on 31st August or 30th August. So the trade is to be long if you are willing to carry these positions. Buy the Nifty and hold on to it. Individual stocks also offer buying opportunities. This is not a time to go short. We don't call a top in the market ever, and not now. So for individual stocks, Hindalco is a buying opportunity. Apart from the fact that metals are doing well today, Hindalco itself has a very attractive chart which suggests much higher levels. So Hindalco is a buy. So is IndusInd Bank. I spoke about Kotak and ICICI Bank earlier in the day. IndusInd is now joining that group of bank stocks that could outperform. That's the second buying idea I have. And finally, Jubilant Foods, which is in a trading range. FMCG will participate in this rally, whether they are index stocks or non-index stocks. So Jubilant Foods is another buying idea. Stay on the long side.
Okay, stay on the long side. That's unambiguous advice coming in from Sudarshan Sukhani. We speak again, Sudarshan, in a bit. Appreciate you joining in with that perspective. All right, let's get some F&O trades as well. Rahul Shah of Motilal Oswal is with us. Rahul, morning. What would you be doing?
Morning. I think obviously the markets are in a bull mode, so I think I'm also positive on the markets, and I think stock specific should do much better. So the top of the mind is JSW Steel. We've seen this stock across the entire metal pack. This has been an outperformer, and we've seen the stock hitting a new high on Friday. So I think the longs built up and then a technical breakout. I would suggest to go long on JSW Steel with the risk to reward quite favorable with a stop loss of 354 and target of 378. Second stock being from the finance NBFC space, Bajaj Finance. I think we've seen this again, this stock hitting all-time high, and on Friday, and stock has been going one way. So I think still there's a lot of room from the stock. So with a stop loss of 2910, one can go long with a target of 2995. And thirdly, from the pharma pack, I think we've seen pharma, after a long consolidation, we've seen some kind of spikes coming up in the few pharma stocks. The same we saw in Cadila on last couple of sessions. The longs built up with good volumes. So I feel one should go long with Cadila with a stop loss of 386 and target of 415.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Rahul, very much for getting us those strategies. Markets looking strong. A couple of themes stand out today. One is select power plays or power financiers, and that is the big theme of the day. Well, we're all awaiting the Allahabad High Court's verdict on how perhaps the stressed power assets, the 34, 35 odd accounts, how they need to be treated, whether they will be pushed into the NCLT or not. So that's, of course, the one big news story of the day. If we talk about some of the movers and shakers right now, beyond that space, should pull up Phillips Carbon, some strong buying momentum on this stock. Once again, it's moving towards that 5% range. If I remember correctly, it's still part of the ASM list, the additional surveillance measures, and it's moving towards that 5% band very, very quickly. Well, those are stocks on the move, but right now, let's get back to that big theme. The 27th of August deadline is here with respect to pushing stressed assets to the NCLT. Let's go across to Lata Venkatesh. She is in conversation with the SBI chairman.
Yes, thank you very much. And I have with me almost the man of the moment, you can say, Mr. Rajneesh Kumar, Chairman, State Bank of India. Mr. Kumar, you're really the most wanted person, and thank you very much for sparing a few minutes for us. Actually, now that August 27th is today, and those 2,000 crore plus stressed assets will have to go to NCLT. Can you just give us the numbers? We are told it is about 70 assets, and it is about 3.5 lakh crore. Are these numbers correct?
No, before I come to the numbers, one is this, I think there is a lot of hype around today's date, 27th August. So sometimes I wonder whether it is really warranted.
Okay,
that kind
good
of
if it
hype.
is not.
So it is not warranted in the sense that one is, whatever be the number, as far as the NPA of the banks is concerned, or as far as the provisioning requirement on these NPAs is concerned, it has no impact whatsoever.
Yes.
So that is the first thing which has to be very clearly understood. The framework of 12th February of Reserve Bank of India, it says that there is a 180 days, some sort of a forbearance in which you decide what is to be done, and that is where this 27th August is coming in. The reference to NCLT of many cases, in fact, has already happened. Nobody was waiting for that 27th August will come, and it is only after that a reference to NCLT will happen.
Yes.
There are a few cases, and I am talking about where the State Bank is focused, that has been in the power sector. In power sector also, these were the assets where PPAs are available. May not be full, 100%, but either partially or full. So it was only these assets where bank was focused that let us try to resolve them without referring to NCLT. And the process adopted has been that it has to be again within the framework of RBI 12th February guidelines. So what the banks did, one, all the assets, the liquidation value has been determined.
Yes.
The sustainable debt has been determined by the two credit agencies, which forms the basis of any price discovery.
Yes.
Price discovery has happened through a competitive bidding process. That is what all is done in the NCLT also. And there are buyers at a particular price, which is acceptable to most of the lenders. So what is now remaining is that lenders have to take their internal approvals. Broadly, there is a consensus. In every case, there would be one or two dissenting voices, which can be always expected. But by and large, the approach which has been adopted to discover the price, the methodology adopted, that has been found to be acceptable by most of the lenders. State Bank, we have given approval for 4 cases, 2-3 cases we are covering this week. Yes. So Board has already approved. These 3 are identical in approach, so there is no question of Board having any dissenting or not approving that. So it is just a procedural matter where all the banks are getting approval from their boards and sign the documents.
Well, I want to tell you that we started our show today by saying that banks are not in danger, that everything is recognized and it is only resolution. And for your information, at the moment, the Nifty bank is up 1.3%. It is the best performing index. So I am not trying to be alarmist. We are only trying to get information.
No, that is true. And it is good that everybody should know that what is the impact.
Yes. So now, if the, why I'm starting with the broad picture, and I'm coming to the 4 Samadhan assets also. The broad picture, we were told 70 assets about 3.5 lakh crore. Again, not to create alarm, but is that broadly the right number?
No, I don't have that information, honestly, because we are not present in all those 70 cases.
Okay. In 34 of them were power assets. That was, in my calculation, about 1.8 lakh crore. Is that fair? Am I somewhere in the right?
34 is all right, but within 34 also not everything is NCLT because it's
not NCLT.
Yeah.
I mean those on which it is
they were considered to be stressed at one point of time.
Yeah.
But I think 8, if I'm not mistaken, there the resolution has already happened and implemented.
Okay.
Some of the cases, I think 18 at the last count, they are already in NCLT.
Okay. Okay, so out of the 34, 18 are already
not out of 34, there may be 3-4 more.
Okay.
So 18 are already in NCLT, 8 have already been resolved.
Okay.
11 were identified for Samadhan,
yes,
out of which 4 have been found to be not viable and being referred to NCLT.
So that leaves 7.
That leaves 7.
Okay, now in these 7, we are talking about how much? 70,000 crore?
Maybe about, my exposure is 17,000 crore. If you multiply by 4, maybe 68, 70,000.
68, 70,000 crore. Have the other banks signed up? Are you reasonably sure that you can take all the 7? Or should we work with, say, 50% will work?
No, we will try that wherever there is a broad consensus, we resolve all of them.
Okay.
If it does not happen, there is no concern about referring them to NCLT.
Okay.
Because even like NCLT and not NCLT, again this has to be understood in the context of that what is the best resolution plan and which can minimize the losses to the bank.
Okay.
As I said, that the power sector, specifically these assets, because these assets, this power plants at PPA, that's why they were selected. Otherwise, like you can go to NCLT, it is perfectly all right.
Okay. Now, if you take away these 4 or even these 7 assets, and suppose a large part were to go to NCLT, will there be an increase in provisioning? Because these could take, I know NCLT is backed up. Even getting registration for the last 29 cases took, almost 8 months.
So it works both ways.
So will you have to do more provisioning in FY19?
That's what I'm trying to explain. If I resolve, then I do the provisioning upfront.
Yes. Okay.
I can't spread it.
Yeah, okay.
If it doesn't get resolved, the lenders get sick 1 year, almost,
so not
to make the provision.
Negative.
So that way, at times, that is also the concern, maybe, not with all, not a lender like us, where I am ready to take it upfront.
Okay.
But maybe there are some lenders who may feel that in NCLT because they get some time to spread the provision and rather than doing it upfront.
Yeah.
So why not take it to NCLT?
Okay.
So provisioning is the least concern in the sense that even if it goes to NCLT, the provisioning will happen as per the AG.
Okay.
So if an asset is today D2, it will become D3, so 100% provision.
Okay. What is the progress on the AMC and the AIF? Will they be bidders in any of these assets, that these 70 of them?
No, once the AMC-AIF comes in, so they will be bidders in the NCLT process also.
Okay.
These 6, 7, they are too advanced, so obviously they cannot be part of that. But if any of these cases gets referred to NCLT, then AMC-AIF can look for assets in NCLT process also.
Give us an approximate date of AMC. Is it visible?
It is visible.
So
maybe
September?
next 1 month I am hoping.
September is a possibility. Okay, now one more asset I wanted to ask you, because it's a large one, Reliance Infocom. We just got a press release on the exchange that they have got 3,000 crore for their fiber assets from RelGeo. Now, where does Reliance Infocom fall? Even their deadline is August 27?
Individual cases, you have to excuse me, you have to rely on what the company says.
No, the doubt only was because for the Ericsson case, they got time till September 30. But does the entire resolution go till September 30?
Once a client is in NCLT, it is in NCLT.
So
The only thing is that if a RP is appointed, forget about Reliance Infocom. In any case, even if a operational creditor has taken any company to the NCLT, then it is a reference to NCLT. And if there is a RP, then there are timelines in which financial creditors have to file their case.
No, there was no RP, no sir, because they themselves came to an out-of-court.
And the matter is still in NCLT, and Supreme Court has stayed. So Supreme Court is supreme, so you abide by that.
So would you say that asset can be resolved by September 30th? That much time banks and the companies have?
No.
Is that a reasonable assumption?
No. One is that, as I said, that forget about the individual asset.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that if an asset has been referred to NCLT by any of the operational creditors,
yes,
not even financial creditors, then the process is that RP gets appointed. When RP gets appointed, financial creditors also have a say in that. Committee of creditors is formed, and banks, even if we have not referred the matter to NCLT, we will be part of that process and we will file the claim. But there are many cases even in NCLT too, where courts have intervened and have put a stay on NCLT proceedings. So I can't do anything about that, because that is a sub judice matter until such time the High Court or Supreme Court, wherever the matter is pending, they give a clear go-ahead. In one of the cases, Supreme Court said that now you have to go ahead with the NCLT process.
Yes.
So process has started.
Yes.
Till such time Supreme Court stayed that process,
you could not do.
We could not do anything.
Fair
so
enough.
this is the story with whether it is a Reliance Infocom or whether it is JAL, JIL or Jaiswal Nik or whatever it is.
Yes.
So if it is the matter is being handled by NCLT, Supreme Court, High Court, then whatever is their order, that will proceed over anything else. And once they give the order, then the process will resume.
Okay. There the order is only to the company to pay up 500 crore or something by September 30th. Okay. Now for the ICA case, there were 2 or 3 banks who were protesting, and they were talking to IBA. Is there a resolution that you can bring them in? I think 3 or 4 private sector banks, Kotak,
one is
HDFC,
in my view, ICA,
IDFC.
there should not be a reservation. The reservation could be arising only on one count. That is where the standstill agreement is there.
Okay.
That in 180 days, if you have signed ICA, then you go along with what the consensus is.
Okay.
And if somebody has not signed, so one is that this is something you can't force anybody. It is a voluntary arrangement between the lenders.
Okay.
But if the banks are, some banks, if they don't sign, but then for the bankers who have signed the ICA, for every consortium or multiple banking, they have to keep into consideration this risk that whether that bank are present in those multiple banking and consortium, and if they are there and not signed ICA, there is a risk associated with that. Then how do you deal with that risk?
Can I tell you how they are putting it? The private banks are saying basically ICA is we all have to sign off our rights to Mr. Rajneesh Kumar.
No.
That's how they are putting it.
That is not correct. One is that it's not necessary that a state bank has to be the lead bank everywhere. We have not even said that the bank with largest exposure will be the lead bank. So the ICA, whoever banks have signed, they can assign this job to anybody. That is the first thing. But we have to also understand that for every decision, and if 30 banks have to decide, then in 180 days you will never be able to reach a resolution.
Fair point.
And somebody has to prepare, take the responsibility even now that happens. Today, even if ICA is not there, and you mentioned one name, look, SBI is taking the lead position without being appointed leader by anybody.
Okay.
So, what is the big deal?
Okay.
I think this is a this is not a warranted apprehension.
Okay.
All other may be valid reasons, but this is not the valid reason.
Okay, that is the top boss at State Bank of India in conversation with my colleague Lata Venkatesh. We'll get you more snippets of that conversation, but so far, extremely interesting to listen to perspective coming in from Mr. Rajneesh Kumar there on a variety of issues. We slip into a very quick break here, so we'll come back in 2 minutes. 104 odd points in the Nifty. We sort of cast an eye on what's happening with commodities. David Lennox of Fat Profits joins in with some perspective. Back in 2.
Welcome back. Some of the points that have been clarified by the SBI chairman, they've lent more muscle to the way some of these stocks are moving. SBI itself is at the day's high. Important sort of statement coming in there. Once again, reiterating that just because accounts are going to move to NCLT doesn't impact provisioning requirements at all. In fact, as he explained, if anything, some of the smaller banks that are struggling with sort of the capital situation, they might find it preferable to send accounts to NCLT because that's when you have a 1-year window to provide for the account as per RBI rules. Whereas if you resolve it outside of NCLT, then provisioning has to be done up front. So he's saying that no additional provisioning sort of headache for the bank, and confident that a lot of the power assets should also get resolved. That's State Bank of India. Apart from that, interesting buying on Reliance should keep that stock on the radar as well, almost a percent higher. And Tata Motors is also finding some takers this morning. So lots of stocks on the move, days high on RIL as well. On that note, let's move away from the world of equities for just a bit and find out what's happening in the world of commodities. Manisha Gupta is joining in with all the action. Morning, Manisha.
Morning, and thank you so much for that. Well, everything is moving higher in world of commodities as well, starting right from the crude oil prices, where we have seen 76 just inches away now in the Brent crude oil prices. It has been good going for the gold prices, back above $1,200 per ounce. And for the metal space, this has been a 6th trade day that you have seen gains continue. Zinc actually has been gaining on the back of inventories decline. The markets also are looking at the currency play, where you have seen the US dollar off its highs. The Jackson Hole Summit meeting, where Powell's statements are seen as positive, is something that also seems to be supporting many of these commodities. David Lennox now joins us to talk about that. David, hi. First of all, about the crude oil prices, what's your sense on that? Because we have been inching higher for last few weeks now, just 20 cents away from that 76 mark. How are you approaching the sector?
Oh, good morning, Manisha. Yes, certainly if you have a look at the crude prices, we have seen somewhat of a turnaround in their fortunes over the course of the last few trading weeks. We do suspect that it has got a fair bit to do with the fact that we've seen supply continuing out of the OPEC countries to be somewhat stable. We haven't seen that production increase that was expected to come through from rhetoric that we heard from a few months ago. That doesn't appear to have eventuated. And of course, we've still got a number of members inside OPEC, such as Libya and Venezuela, where there is some question over their supply. And of course, we're moving ever so closer to sanctions being placed on Iran and the potential for disruption for supply there. They've all been very positive for the oil price.
Are you looking at further gains from here? Because while, of course, it is about the US-China trade concerns, which perhaps could erode demand, but everything else, right from the US rig count to the Iran sanctions, as you mentioned about the OPEC situation as well, looking at all of those factors, are you looking at further gains?
Yeah, look, we certainly do think that going into the end of the year that we will see the oil prices higher. We've maintained our Brent price at between $74 and $84 for calendar year end. We just haven't changed that right throughout the volatile mid-period of the year. And we've also kept our WTI price at between $70 and $80. So from that perspective, yes, we would expect to see higher prices going into the end of the year. And that is on the back of, we expect US production, it appears to have perhaps plateaued at around about that 11 million barrels of oil production a day. That's certainly going to be good news. The one headwind that we can see is unfortunately the domestic demand in the US. This drive season's not been as strong, so that's certainly going to keep the oil prices in check, and that's why we've not moved away from our two end-of-year price ranges.
And what they are really, I mean, are you looking at levels of 78, 80 come back, or are we looking at more consolidation at these current levels?
Look, certainly in the near term, we probably need to see some consolidation occur because we have seen some volatility in that price. But we do suspect that in the patterns that we've seen over the last week of trading with that price just gradually climbing, that the markets are starting to again see concern around supply, and that's building up the pressure on the upside. So we would expect once we've seen this consolidation to occurring that we'll see breakout on any news of supply diminishing.
All right, so some consolidation, but gains from here on not ruled out.
Manisha, thanks very much. David, appreciate you joining in with some perspective on oil. We take a very quick break here. We come back and we discuss market technicals. Ashwini Gujral, as always, on the top of 11:30. We spoke with them at 10:30, and at that point he was saying, well, he'd rather take profits. The market's not really run away from those levels, 112 points. Holding strong, though. We are back with that perspective from Ashwini in just a bit.